Hello again, Bob Boyne here with Trident, another video in our ongoing series related to Blackline and how it can help organizations with their financial close processes. So if you haven't watched the first video in our series, please go back, watch that. Gives you a bit of an intro and introduction into Blackline. Assuming you have though, today we're going to be focusing on reconciliation templates. So as we mentioned in the opening video, reconciliation templates are basically predefined structures for how you perform your month-end balance sheet reconciliations within Blackline. We're going to do another video later on in our series showing an example of how you go from something Excel-based into something within one of Blackline's templates. But today, I'm going to take you through what those actual templates are and how we go through sort of associating that with accounts of a different nature. Part of what we do at Trident is advise on what templates are best suited to certain accounts and the nature of those accounts. And allocating the right templates to the right accounts is what's ultimately going to drive an efficient and effective close process for your organization. So let's take a look at the templates. Here's a bit of a preview of what that is. So down the left-hand side are the various templates that exist within Blackline and that we allocate to accounts during a project. And each template's got sort of different functionality that aligns to the typical nature of accounts of that nature. So today we'll drill into a couple examples just to talk about how the templates actually work. So amortizable prepaid template. This is a reconciliation template designed for any asset that you have where it is being amortized on a straight line basis. A classic example being your prepayments where you've got an amount paid for an asset and that asset has a useful life of some sort of period. So in Blackline, what you're doing is you're basically creating those individual assets. You're defining the start date, end date, the amount paid, and Blackline is then building an amortization schedule for you for those assets within the system. And so this template can ultimately align to one of Blackline's R certification rules, which basically is for if your schedule agrees to your closing balance in your GL. But yes, designed for those accounts where you've got assets being amortized on a straight line basis. Blackline will adjust the amortization and the remaining asset balance for each subsequent period and reduce the amount of work your team needs to do in terms of rolling things further within the system. Another example, the subledger match template. So this is a template utilized for any GL account reconciliation that is underpinned by a supporting subledger system, either within your ERP or even potentially in another system. So you think something like AP, AR, fixed assets, inventory potentially, all examples that we'd see in an organization where they might have a subledger system, and at the end of the month, their current state reconciliation is basically ensuring that their GL account balance agrees to a report from the subledger system. And if those two balances agree, that's great. Your reconciliation is complete. And if the balances don't agree, then it's a matter of explaining what's the reason for it. Is it something to do with timing? Do we have a transaction that's been posted, outside of the subledger directly to the GL account, for example? So one of the other data points we take into Blackline is subledger balances. So actually pulling from those subledger systems. What this template allows us to do is pre-populate those balances with both your GL account balance and your subledger balance. So that will be pre-populated if the balances agree. Another example of auto certification. If those balances don't agree, it's up to the preparers to basically say what is the reason that they don't agree. Is it one of those timing items I just spoke about? And the last template I'm going to talk about today is the calculated balance template. And I refer to this template as the template of last resort in Blackline, but I want to talk about it because I frequently get a question from organizations where I end up talking about this template. And the question I get is, Bob, I've got this really complex reconciliation that we're doing, what template should I be utilizing within Blackline? And depends a bit on the rec, but I would say with any organization we work with, there's always going to be at least one, usually it's more than one, reconciliations that are underpinned by a complex multivariable calculation. So I'll give you an example. Early in my career, I worked in external audit, and one of my largest audit clients was a mining company. And that mining company had a mine site, and one of their liability accounts was what in Canada we called an environmental rehabilitation obligation. So a liability basically for how much is it going to cost for us to turn this mine site to useful land once the mine has been fully exhausted. When I used to do my audit work for this organization, they'd hand me this Excel workbook with all these different macros and discount rates, and we get some specialists to come in and review the working paper. If I was putting Blackline in for my mining client, Blackline doesn't have a predefined template for an account of that nature. So what we'd be saying in that case is you need to retain your sort of complex multivariable workings and attach it in Blackline, and that's where you use this calculated balance template, basically designed to where you've got a complex Excel workbook and you're documenting the basis of what that calculation is. But the point is, that should be the exception rather than the norm. The majority of reconciliations that an organization is doing today do fit into one of Blackline's templates. And by replacing those Excel workbooks with these templates, we're able to drive efficiency, standardization, and make things easier on your team. There's going to be exceptions to that, and that's where we'll use that calculated balance template. But it doesn't mean that the rest of it isn't applicable to your organization. If you do have those handful of recs that are similar to what I was talking about, we see that with almost every organization, and those organizations still get a tremendous amount of value across the other templates available within Blackline. That's all for now. Thanks very much.